I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, so will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Balletta?
Here.
Coburn?
Here.
Jeffries?
Here.
Kulovic?
Here.
Light?
Here.
Ostermeyer?
Here.
Murphy?
Here. Moving on to section 4.0 or 2.04, the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion, Brett. Second, Balletta.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kulovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Balletta?
Yes.
Moving on to section 3, action and items from closed session. We have the review of the closed session minutes of October 22nd, 2025, as well as the closed sessions from October 29th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the closed session minutes from October 22nd, 2025, as well as October 29th, 2025?
I'll move. Second. Ostermeyer.
Balletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kulovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Moving on to section 4, communications. 4.01 is the recognition of our CAC Students of the Month, and our CAC representative and board member Joe Balletta is going to introduce those students.
And as I call your name come up, I'll give you your certificate, and if you could stand at the front and be recognized. So the following students have been recognized as September Student of the Month for CACC. Audio Video Production, Skylar Mehroff. Pronounce that right. Auto Tech 1, Dayon Jones. Building Trades, Beckett Klutz and Oliver Herstein. Cosmetology, Bristol Doctor and Jenna Tuxhorn. EMS, Tristan Schwinn. Just hang out up here for a second. HVAC, Paxton Moe. Law Enforcement, Zoe Kies. Medical Assistant, Alex Payne and Booker Gray. Nursing Assistant, Madeline Lowry. Work-Based Learning, Melina Doctor. And Welding 2, John Villard.
We're gonna stand.
Stand up.
Get a picture with
Ryan, you're hiding back there. We're good?
Congratulations. I know you're busy.
Moving on, section 4.02, recognition of the GHS State Cross Country Team, and I believe Coach Garber is here to do that.
You may come up here,
Yes.
stand at the microphone, plead my case. Do you want me to introduce them? Do you want me to talk about them? What do you want me to do? I can do both.
Do it all. Yeah.
All right, I'll talk about them first. Sorry, I can talk a little bit, ladies. Would you agree with that? I can talk a little bit. Friday's our banquet, so this is a warm up. 2 weeks ago, not this past Saturday, but the previous one, this group of Glenwood girls won a state championship for the 2A girls cross country in the state of Illinois. And I say this whenever I talk about our teams and about our girls. I don't think people really understand how difficult it is to win a state championship when it comes to cross country. It's not one-on-one. You're not trying to beat one team. When you go to the state championship, you're beating more than 25 teams. And this is a group of young ladies that didn't just accomplish a singular feat. If you look at the names and you look at the places and you listen to some of the stories they had to tell, that one meet does not tell the story of their season. I do have some statistics from that real quick, just so I can read them off, because I want to make sure I get this right. You think I have it memorized by now? I probably do, but it sounds cool that I get to read it off. Lowest point total of any 2025 championship team at the state cross-country meet. Boys or girls, they have scored 81 points. If you know anything about cross-country, low score is the best. So 81 points was the lowest team score of any team that ran, 1A, 2A, 3A, male or female. It was the 8th lowest point total in 2A girls state history. That's extremely impressive for a lot of reasons. It is the fastest girls team in school history. There is a 17:41 average on 5. So if you take the top 5 times, you average it out, 17:41. Most seasons that would win 3A. It is the Glenwood team that has the best and highest all-state finishers. Again, it's listed up there, 3rd, 4th, and 7th. We've never had girls that high. And then finally, this is the 3rd trophy that they've scored in 3 years. They won a state championship in 2023. They got 3rd last year, and they won again this year. Again, I could talk about these girls for an hour. I'll do that on Friday. But this super impressive group of young women. If you don't have a chance to be able to get out and see them race, we have a few meets in a season. There's track season. We'll have an opportunity to see what they're capable of. But on a Saturday morning, if you don't have anything to do in the fall, make a trip out to Lincoln Park or drive to Peoria to see these girls race, because it's something special to witness. You want me to call them out and you guys can come up and hand them out?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll just go in order. Ashlyn Chopra. Sophie Rentmeister. I'll give Allie's to her. Allie Laundering couldn't be here tonight. Allie Broadus. Brenna Sloman. Millie Saletti. Michelle Park. Addie Hamrick. Kira Gorey, and Hadley Sloman.
Congrats.
Section 4.03 is a recognition of our GMS cross-country state placers. So, and I think Frank is here today to introduce that, right?
Coach Daly, Coach Bostermeyer, extremely proud of Jasper. He had 2 broken bones from track that he had to deal with to get to the place he was in state this year. He didn't really get to start running until what, September was you were cleared? So I give him a lot of credit for dealing with adversity. He did the things the smart way. He biked, he swam, he did the running when the doctor said he could do it. And I would say he had an unusual season. It felt like he got hit a plateau there for a while, but he stuck with it, and it popped off for an amazing race. I mean, it was just unbelievable to watch him. He just looked smooth and confident, and we're extremely proud of him. So he ended up getting 9th place this year. So.
Congrats.
Okay. Moving on to section 4.04, recognition of school board members. I'll turn it over to Dr. Lehman.
So National School Board Member Day is November 15th, so I just wanted to take a minute to recognize our school board members for the amazing work they do on behalf of our district. Being a school board member is a very challenging position. It is an unpaid position, and it is an enormous amount of their time. but they shine through with their dedication to our staff and our students on a daily basis, ensuring that we're making decisions on behalf of our district to make sure that we are always striving for our best. And so I just want to take a moment to thank them for their hard work and give them a round of applause. And now, before we move into the next section, those of you who would like to leave, we invite you. This is your exit time if you so choose. But you are more than welcome to stay with us for the rest of the We'll just give them a minute to make sure that they can all get on board.
You'll get to see this mess. Good.
Sorry. Congrats again, thanks guys.
All good problems to have. Okay.
All right, moving on to section 4.05. This is the citizens' opportunity and visitors to address the school board concerning any agenda topics tonight. I don't believe we had anybody signed in, so we will move on to section 5, consent agenda items. Under the consent agenda items, we're looking at the minutes from the regular board meeting of October 22nd, the minutes from the Facilities and Grounds Committee meeting of October 29th, minutes from the Facilities meeting of October 21st, treasurer and financial reports, school district's accounts payable, school activity reports, as well as our FOIA requests and our log. So can I get a motion to approve our consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion, Ball-Chatham.
Second, Light.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Boletta,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 6, personnel consent agenda items. We're looking at the resignation, new hires, retirements, transfers, and leave of absence. Before I ask for a motion, I apologize, did anybody have any questions or concerns about any of them? Can I get a motion to approve as presented?
So moved, Coburn.
Second, Jeffries.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 7, finance. 7.01 is the 2025 tax levy presentation, and Ms. Wendy is here to present that to us.
And I promise I will be quick. I took up about an hour of the finance committee's time with the tax levy, but so the first slide is just kind of tell you why the tax levy is so important. The levy it consumes about 60% of our revenue. 15% is from other local taxes, which would be the 1 cent county sales tax, the CCPRT, registrations, things like that, just small local taxes. Federal taxes, mainly grants, and state is grants and EBF. So 60% of our revenue comes from the levy, which makes it the most important thing we do. Some terms to know as we're talking about the levy. So the levy is the ask. It doesn't mean that's what we're gonna get, it's what we're asking. We ask for the moon. The extension is what we actually get, and there is a limit, and we'll kind of go through that. But the extension is what we actually get on the levy. EAV is equalized assessed valuation, so it's 1/3 of all of the property value in the district. CPI is the consumer price index, it's the inflation rate. It's pretty much what the levy is based on. PTEL is the property tax extension limit law, and that is also called tax cap. If you ever hear anybody talk about the tax cap, that means that we cannot levy EAV for more than CPI or 5%, whichever is lower. So no matter what, It's always CPI or 5%, whichever is lower, and that is the law. Then we have the limiting rate. The limiting rate is how we decide we're going to put how much money in each fund. So no matter what the limiting rate is, say you have 3.5 for the limiting rate, you have to put that in each one of your funds, but it cannot be more than 3.5 tax rate. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Truth in taxation. If it's over 5%, the extension, if we're asking for more than 5% from the previous year, we have to put in a truth in taxation hearing. So the only way that that is going to happen is new property. The only way we can go over 5% is new property. 10-year CPI history, it's the middle one right there, percent change from previous December. Our CPI for the levy is based on the December from the previous year, so it's the inflation rate from the previous December. There's a couple years, 22 and 23, it was 7%, 6.5%. We still did not increase over 5%. We were capped at the 5%. 2025 this year, we're capped at 2.9, which is the lowest it's been since 2021. And this is how we come up with what we're going to ask for with the levy. So the prior year extension, what we actually received was the $38,261,000. We can increase that by 2.9% because that is what CPI is. So that 2.9% increase is 1.1 million. So if we add the prior year extension of the 38 million and the 1.1 million increase, the maximum extension that we can receive on existing EAV is 39,370,000. The limiting rate that I was talking about, that we take the limiting rate and we put those into the different funds, we kind of spread it through. That is decided by our new EAV that we get from the county, divided by, the extension.
The EAV for the county.
Yes.
Yes, or for our district.
For our district.
Yes.
By the extension. So it would be 3.77 is what that is what our estimated limiting rate is going to be. So the existing EAV, which is what we get from the county, we ask the county what they expect our new EAV to be for this year. They expect it to be about $1,043,000 or 43 million. I put new property as 45 million. I know that sounds really, really high. Last year we did 35 million. This year we're going to do 45 million because we came in real close. We always want to ask for way more than what we're expecting. Not only did I put the 45 million for the new property, I also added $1 million to the request for the levy, so it's at 42 million. We have several properties in the area that are either close to being done, could already be on the tax roll, and we don't know about it. I do not want to lose that new property. And again, it does not raise your existing EAV. It's just for the new property. So last year our extension was 38,261,000. This year we're asking for 42 million, which is a 9.95% increase. So of course we have to do a truth in taxation. And this is how the levy is kind of spread out. So the 3.77 that I was talking about, where it says 3.857, where it says total levy, that is what it's actually going to be, 377. I am just asking for a lot more than what we're actually going to get. So last year's extension again was 38,261,000. A 5% increase would be 40 million, but considering we're asking for 42,069,000 and it's a 9.95% increase, we're going to have to do a truth in taxation. But our proposed levy is 42 million, and we're actually expecting around 40 million. So we're expecting to ask for about 1.6 million more than what we're actually going to get. Does anyone have any questions?
No, thank you, Wendy, very much. We went into this in much more detail in our finance committee meeting, and I think the thing that we want to express to everybody is, even though we're going out to asking for a larger percentage of what is already allowed for, our actual tax rate as an individual and a property owner in this, as the EAV increases in our district, our actual individual tax rate's going down. And as a district, we have a track record of that in the last few years, where the rate that you are actually paying in your real estate taxes to the district is less than it was the prior year. So even though we're accumulating more money, and the reason being is because the EAV is increasing all of our programs, and one of the large things that happened is, the last 2 years has been a big reassessment year in Sangamon County. So everybody's taxes went up because your house got reassessed because it's worth more. So it's not because of anything the school district or anybody else is doing, but it got reassessed, so your property taxes went up. But there's a track record of actually the percentage that goes to the Ball-Chatham School District has gone down because we've had increases in EAV as well as new property coming on board. And as long as we continue to grow and have new builds and have new property that comes up, the percentage of our taxes that goes to the district continues to go down as a percentage of it. So kind of a misnomer when you're seeing us increase rates and it looks like we're going out and asking for money and that means, oh man, that's gonna mean my taxes are gonna go up as a result. It's as we are adding new property to our community, it's actually doing the opposite. It's actually causing it to go down. So I think that was an important thing we wanted to stress to everybody about the way it is. And we do have a 3-year trend now where everybody's tax rate as a percentage of what goes to the district has gone down slightly every year, so. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I encourage anybody to come to the finance meetings. They're definitely informative. Wendy does a great job explaining everything. You know, we spent an hour going over this, so if you're curious, there's a lot of good topics about school finance to discuss there, so. Go ahead, Nate.
Moving on to section 7.02, this is an action item. It is a recommendation that we set the truth and taxation hearing for December 17th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll move. Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 8, new business, 8.01, it's the approval of the MO for the show choir stipend, and I'll let Dr. Lehman explain that.
So it is a recommendation of the administration to add a show choir assistant position to our CBA. So this would be an MOU with BCEA to do that since we are not in a contract year. The need for this position is due to the high number of students and providing appropriate and adequate coverage for show choir, particularly when they're traveling.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for Dr. Lehman? Can I get a motion to approve the MOU?
I make a motion, Brett.
Second, Ostermeyer.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to 8.02, approval of the MOU for the student council assistant position.
So working through the process in our contract, this was also brought to our newly formed committee, and a decision was made to add an additional position for our student council assistant, also for the same reason, very high numbers. Our student council is a very large organization that does a lot of activities, and it is insurmountable for one person to provide adequate coverage and manage all of the amazing things that our students want to do daily. And so to make sure that they have that opportunity, adding some support for them.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Can I get a motion to approve the MOU as presented?
So moved, Coburn.
Second.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 8.03, the approval of the school calendars for the 2027-28 and 2026-27 school years.
So we typically go out a year and a half with our calendars to give our families an opportunity to plan vacations, and so our calendar committee has met and formalized the 27-28 school calendar for your approval. In addition, they are bringing forward a second 26-27 school year calendar. It was brought to our attention that the current one has election day as a non-student attendance day. However, the law that required that to be a non-student attendance day has sunset, and if it is not picked up by the legislation again this spring, we would not need to be off that day. And so we have a variation planned to make that a student attendance day, but add a day off to the Columbus Day weekend, making that a 4-day weekend if the law does not come back into play this spring. Also wanting to make sure that families were aware of that change with enough advance notice to make plans, because it's going to probably be May when we are able to actually finalize next year's calendar, waiting for the legislation session to wrap up.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns at all about the calendars? It's a very collaborative effort between administrators, teachers union, and everybody involved, so it's actually works really well, so. Can I get a motion to approve the calendar as presented?
Make a motion, Balletta.
Second, Light.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colvick?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Boletta?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Moving on to 8.04, it's the approval of the health insurance plan for 2026, and Ms. Noble's here to present.
Good evening. So the insurance committee met during the month of October and reviewed all of our options for coverage. We are going to be sticking with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois per the recommendation from the insurance committee, which is a 3.5% renewal increase, much lower than the state and definitely at the other districts in the area. The other big change that the insurance committee has recommended is transitioning all lines of ancillary coverage to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, which created additional savings in the medical plan and lower rates for every single line of coverage except for dental. Any questions?
I just want to say I had the opportunity to sit through all these meetings, so the insurance committee does a lot of great work. They're made up of the educators union, additional staff across all banks of the district. You know, they really put their colleagues' interests first when they looked at all this. So there's a lot of time commitment. I don't know how many hours you guys put into it, 4 or 5 hours or more. And they met with individual teachers, staff at the school. So just want to commend them on all their hard work for this, and that it is recognized. So just keep up the good work. So.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or any concerns at all? This is the recommendation of the committee to adopt these plans and move them forward. So can I get an action item to adopt the health insurance plans for 2026 as presented?
I'll
Second, please.
Ostermeyer.
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colvick?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Moving on to 8.05, the approval of the out-of-state boys tennis tournament. The boys tennis team is requesting permission to travel to the 2026 Spring Break Tennis High School Invite in Chattanooga, Tennessee. This will take place April 10th and 11th in 2026, and it will allow for a day of travel to Tennessee on the 29th and as a day of return on that 12th. Sorry. The team's top 8 players will attend the tournament, 2 to 3 coaches. Due to the tournament not being an IHSA state series, the team is not expected to receive any funding from the district, but will do fundraising and use team camp accounts. The estimated cost is around $400 per player, including lodging and meals, and tournament fee of the team fee of $595. These students will miss about 1.5 days of schools. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or comments regarding this? Can I get a motion to approve the travel for the boys tennis team?
I can make a motion, Colvick.
Second, Light.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colvick?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Boletta?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Moving on to section 8.06, approval of golf cart donation. So, per board policy 8.080, it is a recommendation of Dr. Lehman to accept the donation of two 6-passenger golf carts from Deb Grosco. Total value is just south of $14,000. The carts will be used as the Titan taxis and in a structured classroom at GHS to help transport students to their assigned work study at the DO and at GES. we really like to thank Deb. This is a very generous donation. It's gonna be well used and nice addition to the district and to the program. So, does anybody have any comments or questions or concerns at all? Can I get a motion to approve the donation of the 2 golf carts?
I'll move.
Second.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes, thank you.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to 8.07, the approval of our new SRO position. It is the recommendation of Dr. Lehman and the administration to enter into an agreement with the Village of Chatham to contract a school resource officer annually from August to May. The contract information has been shared, and we're seeking for approval tonight. And I know there was a lot of discussion, so I want to open it up if anybody had any comments or questions they wanted to make before we go to approval. I know Police Chief Vern Foley is here. Vern, if you had any comments or questions if you would like to bring up?
I do not, unless you have any other questions of the police department.
I'd just like to say that this is an opportunity for the district to strengthen its safety and security measures, something that we've just heard from the community during our community engagement process as being a top priority. In light of almost the daily events of violence that we see against schools, this is an opportunity to add one more layer for our students and our staff and to make sure that we are continuously looking at ways that we can make sure that we are safe as we can be each and every day within the district.
And I can tell you, just from the comments, that we had, and as board members, safety is absolutely our most paramount concern for all of our kids and for our teachers and for everybody that's in our buildings and visits our buildings. It doesn't come at a cheap cost. We acknowledge that, but we felt like the cost definitely warranted it. But we are, and we have kind of charged Dr. Lehman and the staff to try to find some additional or outside funding sources in the future for it, so it wouldn't necessarily hit the ed fund at this point in time. So we are actively looking at other alternatives for the funding of it, currently talking about those and working on those too. But it is a good cost to the district, and that did not, get by any of us at this point in time, and it was a very deliberate, but we feel like other school districts in the area have one, we don't, and that's not great, and that we needed this position, and that's why we're looking for approval tonight. So can I get a recommendation to approve the new SRO position?
I'll make a motion. Boletta.
I'll second. Light.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes,
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to 8.08, the approval of the HLS funds for transportation cameras.
So we are asking for approval to use some of our health, life, safety funds for the purposes of adding cameras to our transportation building. They just underwent a refresh, and that also highlighted some security issues that they were having, making sure the buses on the lots are secure, but also their entry points are monitored as well, since that is a huge asset point for our district. And the first step in utilizing money from our health life savings fund always has to come with a board approval before we can go through the process to seek permission from the ROE and ISB to spend our funds.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Can I get a motion to approve the use of the funds?
I'll motion, Ostermeyer.
I'll second. Jeffries.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
yes,
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to 8.09, approval of the DO sale contract with the Village of Chatham. Yeah.
So when a school district has property that they would like to remove from their rolls, the legal process is an intergovernment request first, an auction second, and a sale third. And we were approached by the city for an intergovernment transfer of property. and proceeded with moving forward with the village to acquire the property at 14, no, that's this property, 201,
West
sorry,
Mulberry, yep.
West Mulberry. So,
Yeah, the contract is out there. I think it's gonna be a great use. Again, the village anticipates using it, as a staging for their construction of their new municipal hall / building. So it was actually perfect timing and they have a very good use for it. So, feel like we've done our due diligence in terms of having the building appraised, assessing its value, and then, working in, cooperations with the village on a reasonable transfer at that point in time. So, does anybody else have any comments or questions about it at all? Can I get a motion to approve the contract?
Second, Jeffries.
Kolowik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
yes.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 9, communications, 9.01, community engagement phase 3 report. And Mr. Ed Sullivan is here with E.O. Sullivan to present.
Okay, well, it's great to be back in Chatham. We are quite a few months into this community engagement process. I'm here to present what the results were for phase 3. As you remember, this is a multiple phase process that builds on each other. And so you're getting more and more information and we're coming closer to a conclusion. And at that point, you guys will have to make a decision what to do next. But the data that we received from phase 2 really built how we went to the community to talk about what are the options. And so I'm here to talk about the options. We had option 1, 2, and 3, kind of your low, your medium, and your high. Option 1, the cost was $83 million. With rolling off debt, this would facilitate a zero tax increase. When you look at it just as safety and security, infrastructure, mechanicals, that's what the community told us. The community told us those were their top options for the menu of items that, I'm sorry, I didn't move that forward. The menu of items that they thought were important to them. Obviously, you guys as the administration and as the board, you have a lot of knowledge of what the needs are, but this is a community-driven plan. You'll hear me say community-driven, data-centric, and so the data is what we're trying to get you to tonight. Option 2, once again, addresses the same 3 things, but as we add costs, estimated cost of $100 million and a tax increase now of $91 per year on an average home of $250. And then option 3 addresses safety, security, all the things that we talked about before, but then it adds in pre-K, performing arts and music and athletics. This is a $120 million project with an approximate tax increase of $200 on the same $250 million home. So to date, we've had almost 1,600 participants, which is great. It's nice to see that. 3 community committee meetings, 4 public engagement sessions, 3 online feedback forms, and 2 scientific phone surveys. Obviously, we've gone to the public multiple times. So the data that we're receiving isn't just this one-time survey that we've looked at and you're making decisions. We've gone to them, we've refined, and especially how the district refined some of the options, and I'll get into that more as we go along. But listening to the community and coming back and taking their recommendations to heart and then changing your program. And that's kind of a key component of what I'm going to talk about today. So the feedback form in phase 3, we received 266 responses to the form. We have your community committee, and we have the online version of the same form that the community committee saw, but this was online on the website that people were able to go see. And so I want to remind you of how we collect data. We collect data 3 ways. Your community committee, which really is your, we call it your informed group. They get to sit, look at a presentation, ask questions, get a little bit more touches on what it all means. And so we call them our informed group. The folks that are going to take their time out of their day and go find your website online and look at the presentation and then answer the question, we consider those folks our passionate responses, our passionate data. Those are the folks that, like I said, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. They're going out of their way to facilitate conversations. And so that's the second group. The third group, and I'll get to that, is the survey that we took. We call that your intuitive responses. So just as it sounds, they get a limited time to listen to a phone call and answer their questions right away. To some degree, this is how people vote. And so this is another way that we like to actually look at how we get these responses. So this is the feedback form. As we ask people to rank their priorities, and you'll hear me interchange the word priority versus favorability. When we're talking about community committee and public engagement, we're asking for their priorities. And so option 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we gave them a fourth option, which was no additional funding. On the left side is the community committee. They see option 3 as the highest. If you look at no additional funding as a score of 4, that means nobody on the committee chose no additional funding. This does not surprise us that the ranking was option 3 was the highest. Those are the folks that are engaged, get to ask questions, understand a little bit more about the process. Public engagement side, once again, a score of 3.8 out of 240 responses means very few people chose no additional funding. That's good to see as we move this process forward on what the community is really feeling about. It typically, when we see public engagement, we would think that option 1 would be higher. And so when you're looking at option 2 and option 3, that to us, and I'll go into more of this with the details, tells us that folks really like the options that they're seeing and what are the outcomes. And it's really what we're looking at is if we're going to pay for something, what are the outcomes, and they really enjoyed that. That is a product of engaging your community and asking them the questions. And so they're seeing those in these options, and obviously they're ranking them higher. We did this phone survey, so the third data set that we brought together, November 4th through the 9th, to gauge support for each potential option. We received 481 responses. Once again, 481 responses is a very good response. We like to see that. I think I might have even said 300 was what we would like to get to. We got close to 500, and so once again, really good feedback from the community. This is what the top lines, so for every one of these subsets, we can dive deeper into it. So if you wanted to look at what seniors, 65 plus, voted or looked at for option 1, 2, 3, you can deep dive into that, but we're showing you the top lines here. Once again, the first 5 questions are really to get the demographics of the district. We don't want to oversample people that are associated with the school. You get flawed data. You don't want to oversample younger people or older folks. And so that is why we start there. We then asked the next 3 questions, option 1, option 2, and option 3. That's your favorability number. Option 4, or the fourth bucket, preferred option, is going to be your priority. And so when I start going into the data next, I will kind of go back and forth between priority versus favorability. And so with these, you can see the percentages of folks, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And the preferred option from the public, from the survey, is option 1, 2, and 3, which once again does not surprise us that the public would rank in essence the lowest cost option first. But what we're looking at with these numbers is pretty similar results, and so that's also good to see. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the no additional funding in the survey. And so lots of positivity from the feedback we had from phase 3. No additional funding went down from 13% in phase 2 to 11% in phase 3. That's uncommon. We don't see that a lot. Typically, when people start to see the true costs and what they get out of it, that changes. It wouldn't have surprised me if we saw 11%. I'm sorry. Reversed. Sorry, reversed. So that's good for us to see what's going on. Now, why is that? Likely because you guys listened. You guys said, okay, we heard the communities were a little bit, the top funding option was a little bit at the top range of what they were looking at, and they weren't really thrilled with funding the field house. And so by going in and changing your levels and going back to the community, I think that's why you're seeing them say, okay, well, we now understand that. And so that's why we say it's a community-driven process. And obviously with close to 1,600 responses, we certainly have a high level of interest and passion that's going on in the community. So what does it all mean? When all the feedback is taken into account, all 3 data sets that we're talking about now, all 3 options are basically tied to some degree. There's different ones that stand out, and I'll get into that. Option 2 is considered the slight favorite as we look at all 3 data sets. This is the top choice of the more passionate members, the people that either came to a committee meeting or went online and provided feedback at the website, and obviously from the beginning. And it has a net favorability, that those middle section of 10%, which is also a good number for us to look at. Option 1 is next. This is the top choice of the general public, so the survey said that they thought that that was best, and has the highest net favorability of plus 49%. Though it drops to 3rd with the community committee and more passionate respondents. So we really have to take that into consideration as well. While one subset says X, another subset says, well, you know, we really, and how we view that is the more you learn about what's going on, the more you're probably going to be in option 2 or 3. And that's the community education portion that would take place next should you go to referendum. Option 3 is next. It's the top choice of the community committee, which we certainly always anticipate that be the case. But it was the second option with the more passionate respondents, those folks that went online, found your website, went online and took the survey and gave us their priorities. But with the general public, it has a negative net favorability of 17%. So there are key signs of favorability for each option, giving the district the option to move forward with any of these. And that's really a good thing for the district. You guys can have the discussion. The community has said, we are comfortable with all these. We obviously will give you our opinion on what you should move forward with coming up. The community committee supports option 3 and solid support for the more passionate respondents, as we talked about. So option 3 is viable. It does have a negative net favorability, as I said, of 17%. We typically see the highest cost option have a higher negative net favorability. So 17% is not a bad number. We look at that as a positive from the data geek perspective. It's not bad to see that. If we had seen 45 to 46%, yeah, we wouldn't even be talking about option 3 at this point. But to see that negative net favorability so low, we still believe that that is a potential option if the board and the administration chose to. There's a lot of passion behind option 2. Those are the folks that, once again, went online and looked at that. So solid support from the community committee as well, and the general public, as well as the lack of opposition. So your favorability, there's no opposition there. And so that's why we probably believe that that's probably the top option. So that is viable. And then option 1 has high favorability. Those are those 3 buckets that we talked about. And support from the general public indicates option 1 is viable. Now, with that said, the people that have the most information did not rule that, rank that as their best option. So you have to think about that a little bit as you move forward, because do you want to take the folks that really have learned a lot and said, we understand if we're going to the public, we want these things to fix the problems within the district or solve certain things that we've been discussing. So while all 3 options are viable, the community consensus can be achieved around option 2. This is the top choice of the more passionate respondents, and nearly tied for first with the community committee, while seeing solid support from the general public. Now, we looked at the menu items, and that's how we built all these. The top option 2 accomplishes the community's top 3 priorities: safety and security, infrastructure, mechanicals, as well as many other desired improvements: classrooms, programming spaces, parking, sidewalks, and drop-off and pre-K. And it does have a reasonable tax impact. If you remember, the tax impact for a $100 million program was $91 on a $250,000 home. So reasonable. Obviously, that's because you have retiring debt. Now, we did talk about option 3 as still having some good discussions. Sometimes the data shows that there could be a hybrid. So while we tell you that option 2 is certainly what we would recommend, if you're hearing from folks that say, hey, maybe we would like to add some more things for performing arts and music, while they're not in option 2, they could be. So we could say that if you wanted to go to a hybrid option where maybe you bump up that middle option 2 a little bit into the low 100s, you certainly could have that discussion, and we wouldn't say, hey, let's stay with option 2 100%. That's because the data comes back and said that all the options are in the range, and so that is just something we want to put out there for your discussion as you guys move forward. And finally, we believe that the community is ready to move forward on a March referendum if you so choose. If you choose to go to November, certainly that is available as well. A lot of times people think that the costs go up the more you wait, and this is certainly a good time for you to go with a strong odds of success at the ballot box. Now, obviously, what do we have to do if you choose to go in November, or in March? We'll actively engage the community, we'll do education seminars, and you just really have to explain the best plan and why is this plan solve all the needs? What are the benefits? It's not the plan, it's the benefits. What do you see that you're solving? And that's really what will take place. Whether you go in March or whether you go in November, part of my contract is to help facilitate those conversations with the district, with the community. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to discuss.
Yeah, I have one. On your survey, we read a lot of the feedback that you guys provided. What were some of the things that, when they mentioned classrooms and programming space, that you saw that people were saying they want in those areas?
What did they want to know?
One, or just like the feedback that you were getting when you talk about classrooms and programming spaces.
So that was all in phase 2 that we talked about, and I don't have that in front of me right now, but
Well, I can jump in a little bit.
Yeah.
So we advertise classroom as furniture refresh, and program spaces were identified. Some key areas were publicly announced, which was libraries. Now I'm gonna have a absent brain, but libraries, the Family Consumer Science Room at
That's right.
GIS. Some of the science labs were on that ticket as well. So some of the older areas in the buildings that just have been, for some of them, since the existence in the beginning of time. And that some of our audience members experienced as students, that they just need to, they need a refresh at this point. So.
I didn't know if there was something different because it had it on there, so that was my question.
sure.
Any other questions?
So if there's no other questions from the board to meet the timeline, and not saying that we are moving forward, because that's still a conversation that you need to have and a decision that needs to be made. However, we have tight timelines. So I would just need permission to start exploring the development of a ballot question, so that if you should want to proceed with that at December's meeting, we have that prepared. It doesn't necessarily need your vote, but more your verbal blessing for me to move forward.
I think we should absolutely move forward with it.
I agree.
Ed, thank you very much. Appreciate all
Sure.
the work.
Thank you.
No worries, anytime.
Moving on to section, or item 9.02, CES building presentation, and I know we have Principal Rimbush and the CES Student Impact Team
We
with
got a
us
few
tonight.
here. Yeah, so thank you. Steve Rumbush, principal at Chatham Elementary. Tonight, we're gonna give you a snapshot of our impact team at Chatham Elementary and some work that they've done. And before we get into that, I definitely want to acknowledge the team. They're not all here tonight, but they have done a lot of work since last year, really leading into this school year, and just making some great changes at CES. So I appreciate their hard work and their dedication to our school, and they're making an impact every single time that they meet. They've had a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, and sometimes those have been some tough conversations, but they've worked together, collaborated, and made some great changes. So thank you to our team for that. Impact, you know, going into last school year, Ms. Johnson and I were thinking a lot about a theme, because we got to start with a theme, right? So we want to have those words. And we kind of just kept coming back to the word impact. And so we kept talking about that word because even though it's a very common word, it's a very strong and powerful word. And we knew that every single time that we interact with our students, our colleagues, our staff, our in our own lives, like every time we interact, that can either leave a positive or a negative impact on those people based off of what we've done. And our ultimate goal is obviously to impact as many students in a positive way that we possibly can, and also our staff and our families at Chatham Elementary. And so that theme kind of stuck, and we kicked off the school year 2 years ago with the theme, and then last summer the team got together. We kind of got rid of some of the old PBIS work and wanted to move forward with a new concept. And so the team really got together, started doing a lot of planning last summer, and made some great changes. And so I think we're on the right track. I'm excited for it, and they're gonna talk because these are the ladies that really sit and have those meetings, and there are other members of this team, but I appreciate them.
Deanna Johnson, let's see what this is. Okay, so like Steve said, we spent a lot of time kind of looking at the team in general, talked about that purpose, so we kind of, as a team, created purpose for our team and then set our goals, our overarching goals. So last year in January, we surveyed our staff and through a Google form, just asking for their feedback on what they need, what they are seeing, what they would like to see change as we moved from PBIS to that impact team. So last spring we used that information and spent those spring meetings, monthly meetings, kind of looking at the results of that survey that we sent out and developed the goals that are listed here. I'm not going to read everything that's on there, but celebrating positive behaviors, making sure kids know that when they're doing a great job and celebrating that, maintaining those common area expectations, and then of course analyzing the data. And then based on those spring meeting discussions, we determined that there was a need to revamp our common area expectations and kind of look at how we're going to support and have that be available to kids. So we spent time this summer really looking at the previous posters we had up in common areas and what those expectations are, what we wanted to see for our kids, so that we were seeing that success school-wide. So there's an example of one of our posters. We did make sure that the posters all had both verbiage and a visual cue for them, for some of our early readers, visual reminders. And then we did decide as a team that we wanted to review those expectations. So we do, at the beginning of the year, we do what we call boot camp, where we go through those common areas, discuss the expectations, but the goal is that we're going to continue those after every big break. So we'll do, again, when we come back in January, we'll do another refresh, and then after spring break as well. After implementing, I was looking at data this week, and our first trimester data since implementing some of these new expectations in common areas, we've seen a 15% decrease in our referral data, so that's great. In addition, while we were revamping those, we started looking at one of our big things that we were noticing is our common areas where we're outside classrooms. Learning is going on and kids being loud in the hallways kind of becomes a problem. So having a visual, you can see the grade level sign, but there's also a level, like a voice level sign, kind of reminds them we're in a learning area, we need to keep our voices down. And then we also, like it shows there, we added some directional signage throughout our buildings so that people are able to easily navigate.
Hello, Julie McAllister, counselor at Chatham Elementary School. I get to talk about the fun stuff. The things that the kids really, really enjoy and that make Chatham Elementary the special place that it is. One of the big things that we have is our Book of Success. Our office is a super busy place. It just is busy anyway, but we all day long, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, have kids coming in to celebrate the successes that they're achieving in their classrooms by goals that they've set with their teacher, behavior goals, academic goals, we leave that autonomy up to the teachers to decide when kids can come down and sign that book. which really gives everybody the power to participate and be active participants in the Book of Success. The kids get to come to, it's so much fun. It's my favorite time to be in the office is when the kids are coming to sign the book. They get to come in, we actually have a notebook that they get to sign with a cool colored pen or a fun top pen or whatever. They get to ring a bell that's on the wall, and then they get a sticker, and that's a example of the sticker at the bottom there. I signed the Book of Success. It's a big one. We actually ran out of them, so we have an order coming in this week, which is super cool. I mean, that's a good problem to have, because we started out, that was the first time we've done that. Last year, we would read the names, like they would try to read through the names, but you can't get them all, because that's just hard. So this year, and it took a lot of time on announcements. So the teachers requested that we come up with a different plan, and I think we did a really good job of that. The kids get to, at one point during announcements, they say, anyone who signed the Book of Success yesterday, please stand up. They stand up, their class applauds for them, and it's just another recognition that they get. But man, they put those stickers on their shirt, and they're wearing them proudly, and it's just fun because every adult in the building can say, congratulations, oh, I'm so excited you got to sign the book, and it creates a really positive, fun atmosphere in the school. The other cool thing that we do that the kids love is our Titan tickets and our Titan store. Kids can earn Titan tickets for meeting those expectations, for their behavior, for academic. I mean, once again, it's up to the autonomy of the teachers. We encourage, and we've trained our playground teachers and our lunchroom teachers to, it's great to hand out those tickets, but when you hand those tickets out, you need to let them know, hey, great job, level 0 in the hallway today. Great job following the directions that we gave you. And great, thank you for helping us pick up the toys that are outside from recess for the next group. So it's just, we want to make sure we not just hand them out, we want to give them acknowledgement of why they've earned that so they can hear. And it's a great motivator if you have a classroom line and your kids are being very talkative and you can't get them quiet. You say, oh wow, good job, Susie, here's a Titan ticket. Man, they all get to it right away. So the Titan tickets are currency in our school. Once a month, sometimes it's a little bit more often depending on the grade level, but once a month you have parents that are manning our Titan store, which is on a rolly cart, and they go to each grade level, each classroom gets to come out, they get to buy the incentives that we have available. There are trinkets and things like that, but the really exciting and popular things that they buy are coupons. They can be announcement helper for the day. They can be a lunchroom helper for the day. And we've come up with, and we've worked with our staff to come up with some really cool things that they can earn. And one of them, our game room that we've talked about before, they can earn time to go in there. If they earn that, then they get to go with a friend. So you see the kids working teamwork, pulling their tickets together. They can do a class movie. So it's fun to see how the kids follow through and use it. So those are the, and like I said, we have some awesome parent volunteers that run that for us and do such a phenomenal job.
I'm Mackenzie Otto. I teach first grade at Chatham Elementary. So one of the other things we do is Out of the Blue. We've been doing Out of the Blue for a couple of years now, but this year it feels just so much stronger, more consistent and all the things. So once per week, random day of the week, they'll call in Out of the Blue. Normally it's at the end of the day, but sometimes it just depends on like what we're doing. But it's all behavior based. So if their number was called, they had a really great day, it's an awesome chance for us to kind of celebrate them. So then they get to do their Out of the Blue activity. 3 weeks out of the month, they get a blue Titan ticket, and our Titan Council members give those out to the kiddos, which is super fun to see. And the blue Titan ticket can be spent at the Titan store. It's worth 10 tickets. So hot dollar item. So then the other 1 week out of the month, they do an activity. Those are the super exciting days. So far this year, we've done the Titan ticket machine, where it's kind of like the cash grab, which was super fun. We've done the drift cars, which was very fun, and then they can do game room. I think this month we're going to do the silent disco again as the Out of the Blue activity. But it's good for like us as teachers, if their name was called and maybe they didn't have such a great day, it's a good talking point for us. And then we do have a schedule set up where each student is going to get called at least 3 times per school year. So then that gives them the motivation, and for us to kind of get them right back on track. Hey, you're going to get another opportunity, all the things. So.
And that's a really, really quick rundown of it. We also, something that we started was these impact cards, and so I know your impact on our district is huge, and so we appreciate you. But I want to give you a card that if you're ever in a school and you see something going on, you can write. But we leave these in our lounge. Sometimes our teachers will write to each other. When we go and do our drop-ins and informals, we like to write little notes. So those are kind of the cards that we use at CES too. So thank you.
Okay, push the button.
Push the button.
Push the button.
Oh, we got a
That's the
picture.
last thing.
Yeah.
Any questions for this?
Questions?
Thank you for
That's
coming
awesome.
and
You
presenting
have good
tonight,
work.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's, I've seen some of this in action, and it's really amazing, so if you get a chance to go and see it, it's.
And I just want to point out the dedication of our staff. And so this is the first building presentation that you've had as board members. So each building presents once during the year. Chatham got to
We
go
got
first
it.
because
We're in
Steve
now.
selected it.
So the
Check
bar
it's
high.
done. But I think there's some key things that you heard in their presentation tonight. One, just students drive everything that they do in their building. Two, they came in over the summer because they're that dedicated to make sure that they were prepared to receive our students back, particularly after the Why Not tragedy, but that's not the only reason because they would have done it without that. And also just constantly looking at improvement, and that's the goal, is the continuous improvement so that our environment and our learning outcomes are always as high as they can be for our students. And so for that, thank you, each of you. Thank you. Yes, let's clap.
Is this something that like Ball Elementary and Glenwood will? Or is this specific for Chatham Elementary?
So every school has,
Oh, okay.
they'll all present, and they're all doing similar
Gotcha.
things.
Awesome.
And they all have their own themes, so.
My daughters are at Ball. and
They're
I-
all doing very similar.
I always hear about the Titan store nonstop and all the stuff they come like, cool.
Yeah,
It makes
we
their
talk
day.
amongst
It's
each
awesome.
other, like principal to principal,
Right.
team to team, so.
I was
Yeah, you'll
really
hear
hoping these
similar
were
things
Titan
from them.
tickets, I'm not gonna lie. I really hope those were Titan tickets, I used to kind of sneak them from my kids when they had them, so.
I can say that the Book of Success was a big hit at our
Yes.
house, when my kindergartner got to sign it.
Awesome.
So, thank you guys for all that you do.
No, thank you.
And I know that we're going a little bit late, and I know you guys have early morning tomorrow, so if you want to sneak out, this would be your opportunity to do so.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
I was like, and
Stop
there's-
you, Wendy.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Man, Wendy, you jumped up quick on that one. I'm not
I told Mark, I dearly
After
care
promising
about
me
this,
she'd be here
I
to
was about to
support
say,
me
Mark.
too, yeah, no kidding.
gonna lie. 9.03 is a transportation presentation by our Director of Transportation, Mark. We'll turn the floor over to you, Mark.
Good evening, thank you. And it's great to hear about the Titan tickets, because we use those on school buses for good behavior as well. So we've been passing them out for a long time, but to hear the impact that's having, that's really cool. Okay. Which one advances it, Becky?
Right arrow.
That's what I.
Oh.
Ah. There we go. Okay, this is the overview, key metrics of our transportation fleet. We have 48 buses. We do 35 regular routes per day and 2 dedicated special education routes. Right now we have one of those 35 routes that is vacant. To date, we've done approximately 233 athletic or field trips, and on a daily basis, we drive roughly 3,436 miles for a total of over 500,000 miles per year. Transportation staff, we have 58 employees. 37 of those are bus drivers, 16 monitors, 2 full-time mechanics, and 1 part-time mechanic who also serves as a route driver. In addition, our administrative team consists of 3 office staff, which is myself, the transportation assistant, and the router dispatcher. Highlights of last year. Last year we implemented Here Comes the Bus app. Currently we have 1,334 users on that app. This is a parent communication tool that allows families to view in real time when their student's bus enters the designated perimeter of their stop. And I'll share a little more details on that app here in a couple minutes. Over the past 2 years, we've made significant investments in our fleet, purchasing 19 school buses last year and an additional 2 school buses this year for a total of 21 buses. And I'll discuss that impact here in a few minutes as well. Our transportation department renovation included updates to all office spaces, the driver break room, and the restrooms. And we also installed all new lighting in the shop and the wash bay area. Over the summer, we created a new transportation employee handbook. Our new transportation mission statement is driven by safety, powered by care, and focused on students. Phase 2 of Here Comes the Bus, this is the app I was talking about earlier, is a ridership program which will allow students to scan on and off the bus. This will allow us to be able to monitor who's getting on the bus where, and it will also help us prevent students from boarding the wrong bus at the schools. The beginning of the year is a little chaotic. We have kindergartners and preschoolers, they often get on the wrong bus. So it's a little scary, so this will hopefully help us prevent that going forward. So we're going to begin a pilot program of that ridership program right after winter break this year. Okay, the average lifespan of a school bus is approximately 10 years. As shown at the bottom of this chart, we have 1 bus remaining that is 20 years old. And as we go up to the 10-year mark, we currently have a total of 15 buses that are 10 years of age or older.
Oh, we're fixing that.
We are fixing that.
Okay, let's just
Next
let
slide.
that-
So over the summer, we developed a school bus replacement plan. And basically what we've worked out is to replace at least 2 buses a year, every year. And we're going to start with the oldest buses. And if we have more than 1 bus at that age group, for an example, if we have 10 buses that are 10 years old, we're going to go by mileage, the highest mileage of those buses. Okay, the budget breakdown. The total transportation budget is $3.49 million. Of this, just over $2.3 million is allocated for salaries and benefits. The supplies category expenditures, such as diesel fuel and gasoline, that makes up a little over $320,000 of that supply category. And then other general supplies. Bus purchases and equipment category, this includes purchases of our new buses, but it also includes large equipment purchases or high dollar bus parts. For an example, a turbocharger that might cost $7,000, that would go in as an asset purchase. Purchase services are services that we purchase like towing, glass replacement, tire service, and other contracted services. Okay, I was asked to talk a little bit about the claim. So every year in August, we complete a transportation claim for the Illinois State Board of Education. The annual reimbursement from the Illinois State Board of Education for approved transportation expenses is filed by August 15th every year. The reimbursement formula for regular education, we get reimbursed, the formula says we get reimbursed 80%. And then for special education, it says we get reimbursed at a rate of 100%. However, when state appropriation is insufficient, the Illinois State Board of Education then prorates the reimbursement. And this year, the reimbursement for general education expenses is expected to be around 71% as opposed to the 80%. And for special ed, it's expected to be around 61%. Payments for the transportation claim are distributed in quarterly installments. So They come in quarterly, and sometimes the state will give us 3 of those quarterly payments in a year, and sometimes they'll give us 5 of those in a year. So then also part of the transportation claim, we have a depreciation schedule. The depreciation rate for a school bus is 20% annually over 5 years. So when we purchase a school bus, we get those costs back over a 5-year period. Depreciation for for large asset purchases, the expensive parts, the shop equipment, that kind of stuff, is depreciated out at 33.33% over 3 years. And site improvements, like what we just did with the transportation remodel, is depreciated out at 5% over 20 years. So last year, for an example, when we bought 19 school buses, we increased our depreciation schedule by $450,000. So it was a pretty significant increase. The renovation is expected to increase it by about $27,000 per year over the next 20 years. I guess, there we go. Challenges going forward, of course, the nationwide driver shortage is an ongoing challenge for us. We've got increased maintenance costs due to our aging bus fleet. I've got a bus in the shop right now that's 15 years old. We just ordered $7,000 worth of parts for to keep it running. Our 2 mechanics are phenomenal. They've been able to keep a very old fleet on the road for a long time, so they've done a phenomenal job. Rising fuel prices also are impacting our overall budget. Goals going forward is to continue efforts to recruit and retain qualified drivers, continue to review and optimize bus routes for efficiency and cost savings, and to strengthen our student management training with our drivers to reduce on-bus incidents. And with that, I'm all done. I'm happy to answer any questions. Try and get you out of here.
I would like to make a comment. Your 2 mechanics are the unsung heroes of that department. The amount of work that they do, the amount of money they save the district is impressive, to say the least.
They are amazing. Prior to my arrival, like I said, we replaced 19 buses last year. Many of those 19 were over 20 years old, and they were still being used daily on routes. And that's a direct response to what they're doing there.
I should say all 3 of them don't want to leave Tony up.
Yeah, yes. Tony's our part-time mechanic that also drives a route for us every day in the morning and the afternoon.
So I see you have a schedule to replace the buses, all the buses eventually. Are you factoring in the maintenance costs? Can a maintenance cost expedite a purchase?
Absolutely. So the 2 purchases that we made this year were directly related to maintenance costs because we had 2 buses that had parts that failed that are no longer available, for an example. So those 2 got expressed up on the list to get replaced. In addition to our buses, we also have 3 multi-function school activity buses, and we've got 3 fleet cars, and we've got 6 10-passenger vans that we maintain and manage.
On the bus app, we use that every day at home, so it's awesome. I'm curious, I have 2 questions. Is the scan when you check in, how will that work? And how did you mentioned there's 3,400 riders a day, and only about 1,000, about a third of the people, I'm guessing, are using that app?
Correct.
How do we get more people to use that? I don't know.
That's a very good
Can I
question.
answer that?
Sure.
So, at Student Ambassador today, which 2 of our ambassadors are out in the audience today, too. So what we are trying to address, and you heard from Danny before, some of our communication issues, is utilizing our students to also become more informed. And so student ambassadors today were given the charge of making sure that all of our freshmen and sophomores who ride the bus, do they have the app? Many of the ones in the room did not, but they got it today. And so that is how we.
That's awesome. I
Yes.
should have looked at that before I came tonight.
So, we're gonna start using students to also support that effort. When we have complaints, then we always share with parents, you know, have you use the app? And I think because our rollout was staggered, some people became disgruntled when something didn't work at the beginning, and as it becomes more stabilized, which is very stable right now, I think we're gonna see more and more of that, but we're gonna continue to push it on.
Do you find more people that are on the app, like, missing the buses, or is there any, like?
No.
No, the ones on the app are the ones not missing the buses.
But have you seen a big change since the app went live from that perspective?
Oh, a considerable change, yes. I will also add that when we roll out this ridership program, the older kids that have cell phones, they can open that Here Comes the Bus app and they can use the barcode right off their phone to scan onto the bus. So they won't have to have a card issued to them to swipe onto the bus. They can just use their phone app. So I expect the numbers to go way up once we start that.
And for younger kids, we're looking at different options, which include that they may have an object that they can scan, but we also know that our littlest ones will struggle with that. So we will have the cards on the bus for the bus driver to hand them to scan to, also increasing relationships with the drivers and the students. There'll be more name recognition and acknowledgement of who the students are. So the cards will be on the bus to be used.
For the younger
For the
students,
youngest
yes.
ones.
What is the goal to get to like other 3,400? Like, is it 50%, 60% using the app to sign up for it? Ultimately, probably 100%.
Here comes
yeah.
the ultimate would be 100%. That would be fantastic. But I mean, obviously, the younger kids aren't going to use the app.
Sure.
But and I got to tell you, the 3,400 riders, that number is based on the number of eligible riders we have in the district right now. I expect that number to go down, not that we're gonna have less riders, but once we use the ridership, we'll have more accurate numbers of who is actually riding the buses. Because we've got several juniors and seniors that are on the bus rolls, but they're not riding the bus. And we know that, but it's difficult to extrapolate that out.
I just love the app, and I think that it makes it so much clearer when there's gonna be a bus substitution, that the kids know what to look for, so I'm just very appreciative of it. And it's exciting to hear that you're gonna have to scan cards, because if you have not been to an elementary school on the first day loading the buses.
Well, if you think that's chaos, I invite you to transportation on the first day of school.
Yes, and just thank you for all that you do and everybody at the transportation department. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark, can you hand me the clicker?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Because I'm next. Thanks.
All right, next up, 9.04 is the school report card presentation by Dr. Lehman.
So officially, our school report cards were released at the end of October, and so I'm just going to give you some information. We already talked about how the cut scores for the IAR test were altered, thus not allowing us to make great comparisons from past data to current data. And now I'm going to share this with you and then tell you that this is the next phase by ISB, and they're redesigning the report card system for next year, so we'll lose that comparability for next year as well. So our report cards are divided into two buckets, basically. Elementary and middle school have one formula, high school has a different formula. So in the elementary formula, 75% of it is calculated off of academic indicators, which is the performance rate and the growth rates on passing the test. Also, the performance of our English language learners are in isolation, as long as we have 20 students within that building who took the assessment. And you'll see that here in a minute, because each school's report card is not based on the same factors. 25% of the calculation is school quality, which is the climate survey, the 5 essentials survey. We get 5% of our score for students participating in that. And then our chronic absenteeism rate, which is the percentage of students who are missing 10 or more days of school during the year. Once all of the formulas are calculated, schools are given these designations. Exemplary, which they take all the schools in the state, basically draw a line at the 10% from the top on down, and they receive the exemplary, regardless of their performance. So it's just top 10% in ranking order. Commendable is the middle bucket, which goes from 90% down to 5%, as long as you don't have any targeted or comprehensive scores that will put you into a different category. So if you have subcategories of your students who are drastically underperforming the state's expectation, for example, if our ELL students would not meet the state's expectation, or students with IEPs, or students in different race categories. So for each school, then we get something that looks like this. So Ball Elementary was commendable this year. They have this house that they put up on the ISB score, but you will see below the house, we have 2 boxes of items that did not qualify for Ball Elementary because they did not have enough students to, or that component was not part of the makeup of the school. So science proficiency is the purple, because science is only tested in grades 5 through 8. Our elementaries do not have that box. And then Ball Elementary did not have 20 or more ELL students, and so that box was dropped. So one might think then that if the boxes were missing, you might just get credit because you didn't have the box, but that's not what happens. The redistribution occurs across the remaining boxes, and so the categories are weighted differently for schools who don't have all the boxes. And so just kind of an overview of what happens. So you can see for each school what their performance, which is their pass rate on the state assessment, and then their growth rate. Growth rate is an individualized score for each student based on where they were last year and where their peers moved forward this year and how they ranked against their peers. Questions before I fly through the rest of them, because that's a little confusing. Because if you're confused, guess what we are. Chatham Elementary was exemplary, so they were in that top 10%. So what you'll also see is that growth far outweighs performance. So what we have in the district is situations where we have high performance. In fact, our highest performing schools are rated in a lower category than some of our schools who have lower performance, because growth is weighted more than performance on the state report card. Also, they did not have the 2 boxes. Glenwood Elementary did have the ELL category. Again, so their percentages are skewed from the 2 other elementaries. Their weights are different for their boxes. They had extremely high growth, which helped reach that exemplary status for them, again, because of the weighting. Glenwood Intermediate has all of the boxes. And so their percentages then look even more different using the same metrics than the 3 schools that we've just seen, and they were ranked commendable. They have science as a tested item. There is not growth on the science test, however. It's not a calculation in the school report card. Glenwood Middle School was also rated commendable, but does not have the ELL category. So again, their percentages are then even more different than for other schools in the district as far as how it was weighted. And you can see their performance and growth. The high school report card then completely changes. And so 75% again academic indicators, but what those are very different. With graduation rate holding 50% of the school's report card score. So that one measure is 50% of high school's scores. And then proficiency in language arts, math, and science, and then English language learner progress towards proficiency. So the state has weighed graduation over performance. 25% of the indicators are chronic absenteeism, the client survey, and then the 9th graders on track to graduate, which is how many courses our 9th graders are passing. Our Glenwood High School was rated commendable. They had all of the boxes, but you can't take their house and compare it to any other school in the district because how their house is calculated is very different. And our graduation rate was 92%. So accountability focus is, what are we doing with this data? Chronic absenteeism is absolutely an opportunity for improvement. The struggle with that is that every absent day of a student counts towards this total. So we have some conflict in some laws. So the law says students can have 5 mental health days, but when they take them, it counts against us. The law says that students can be absent for military, couple other items that they are allowed to be out, but then when they aren't, they count against us. We are revamping and we are under the process for adoption of a new ELA curriculum, which we also have hopes will improve our performance, and then understanding the new rules. So just as a quick synopsis of the new rules, we're going, if passed by the state, the rank and file and draw lines will stop, and performance categories will come in, where to meet exemplary, you must have these levels, and to be commendable, you'll have these levels, and then they've added a few more levels in there, so it's not from 5% to 90%, all getting the same score. So we're still learning about that, and there's still work at the state level, but it will drastically alter this process and then be more challenging to explain changes in the future.
Do you have any comments or questions for Dr. Lyman?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. First, I would like to see if there was some way that we can isolate our performance prior to reporting to the state, so we can get a better understanding of Chatham and the Chatham area, because it looks like once it goes in here, we've talked about this before, this is completely different than the report card I looked at last year. It kind of looks like it's combining us to kind of compensate for poor performing schools while pulling us down at a high performance. I don't want to be compared to poor performing schools, and I would like to see if we can somehow isolate our data prior to sending it to the state. I'm not saying don't submit it to the state. What I'm saying is, when we submit to the state, allow 2 reports for the boards, because we can strictly just hone in on our district. Because, I mean, it's to me, you know, when you got certain schools out there, and we know they're out there graduating at a rate of 42%, you know some schools is out here failing, and it's not proficiency, you know, reading below proficiency, because some schools are basically, you know, slush funds for political hacks. So we have to find a way to get our data, once they put our data in there, to present these performance numbers and to isolate it. You know, I'm kind of on a rant now.
That's okay. Well, so let me address that. So we have no control over the data that gets reported to the state, because we submit the tests and the test scores go straight to the state. What we get back, however, is much more extensive data that is broken down, that our administrators spend an enormous amount of time poring over and looking at for opportunities for growth. So this is just a glossy overview.
Okay.
It is just one component. If you went online and looked at our full school report card, there are 40, 50 different pages of data that the public can look at.
Okay.
The problem, and as you and I have talked about many times, is that it's very hard to go back and look at previous years compared to this year, because it is not clear all the changes that are made at the state level. And so as you are trying to tell that story and look at, did we have growth? Did this happen? Did that happen? What's being painted for the public is not accurate, because the changes are never highlighted on that website. So they'll give us the trend data. This year, our scores jumped amazingly because they changed the acceptable pass rate. And so I'll take that though, because it looked great on our report cards. But next year, there's not gonna be as much of a jump, because that change won't be there. And then trying to explain that to people, and I would say that a lot of people in our community and understand this and have a grasp of this. The hardest community, I think, and the focus community that needs to understand this, is when you have people looking at where to buy a home based on the performance of a school district, and that they're making decisions without understanding the full story.
All right, any more questions or comments or concerns? All right, next up, 9.05. We have with us UIS Chancellor Dr. Janet Gooch and Springfield 186 Superintendent Jennifer Gill. And I don't want to fail to mention, Board Member Micah Miller is also with us in attendance as well, and they have a presentation for us on land annexation. Oh, before I turn over the floor to you, I know I called you privately, but I also wanted to take this opportunity to publicly thank you. Last spring, when we had the tragedy that occurred here, you graciously gave us Rachel Dias, your Director of Communications, for several days to help Danny, our administration, and our whole community. And that was a very classy act and very well received, and she was a tremendous help to all of us during that situation, and I want to publicly thank you for that.
Thank you so much, and my heart still goes out. I know that every day is a new day for families, but that tragedy hit our school district as well with one of our educators, and just hard to think of that day. So thank you for that, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity, President Murphy and Superintendent Lehman and members of the board.
I've not been called that before. Can you say
Oh.
that? I'm sorry.
President
Yeah,
Murphy.
yeah, thank
We
you.
do that every board
Sir
member.
Ryan.
We do
Yeah.
that.
Here we go.
I guess a fellow musketeer next to me. But thank you for the opportunity, and I deeply respect Chatham. It's very important to my family as well. My sister is a member of your school community, and we have great conversations at the dinner table about everything that we're doing. But just great respect for Chatham. I mean, we border and neighbor each other, and you guys are, beat us up a lot on the athletic field, but we absolutely love having the relationship in our larger district area. Tonight, I just come to you with a request that's a little bit different and well thought out, but something that is important to the growth of our school district. And Springfield Public Schools are seeking a request to approve to enter into a long-term lease with the University of Illinois Springfield and the system for UIS currently owned land. And that is to construct a new Southside Elementary consolidated school on this leased property. This request will require Ball-Chatham board to voluntarily detach approximately 29 acres. We may not need that much. We'll have it all down in a contract, but no more than 29 acres of currently unused UIS-owned land into the Springfield Public School District 186 boundaries. A key financial note, because I would have asked this question immediately, is that this is university-owned and tax-exempt property currently. They don't plan to sell it for any purpose, so there would be a zero property tax loss to the Ball-Chatham School District, because we would be building a school there and also be tax-exempt. So we wanted to make sure that was well understood up front. The northern border of that is District 186 property. It's Franklin neighborhood, Franklin Park neighborhood there. And then also there's Barker Park, which runs alongside that land and is also in the Springfield Public Schools. We wanted to talk about the mutual benefits that we brainstormed. There could be more, but I'll hand it over to Dr. Gooch.
Hi, I'm Janet Gooch, and I'm the Chancellor at the University of Illinois Springfield. It's very nice to meet all of you, and thank you for the opportunity. For UIS, this really is a mutually beneficial relationship that we're talking about here, primarily for our university, but also for the College of Education. Having the school on our property will provide an opportunity for our education students to have a hands-on experience within the elementary school, whether that's observation, whether that's student teaching, whatever the case may be. I think having that on our campus as a recruitment tool could really help feed the teacher pipeline, the future teacher pipeline, not just in District 186, but throughout Sangamon County. It also helps us provide those opportunities to students who have reduced barriers, particularly with transportation. About 40% of our students are Pell eligible, they're low income based, many of them do not have transportation that they bring with them to campus, and to be able to have a hands-on experiential learning experience from day one in the educational space would just be fabulous for so many of our students. And again, I think it's a real potential for us to amplify and scale up our teacher education program with that elementary school on our property.
And for District 186, we have a critical South Side facility needs. We operate 3 smaller elementary schools within the South Side of our community, all of which have tremendous needs, much like you've brainstormed tonight on your facility report. We have those, and these have been on the books to be consolidated since the beginning of our planning for facilities. It also allows our district to use our countywide sales tax to build a school on that land with ample space and opportunity for UIS to have a small space in that building. And it maintains our strong collaboration with UIS and hopefully other district schools around the community. We would want to put things in writing about the number of student teachers that we would take versus that you would have access to in other districts across our regional area for sure. And for Ball-Chatham, just again, that there would be no financial impact. I would have asked that question right up, and I want to make sure that we make that point clear. And that there's opportunities for additional development when we put a school staff and different families coming out to pick up students. We would hope that that might generate some other types of building that could occur that would generate property tax for you and sales tax for all of Sangamon County. And then,
Yeah, I think that what Jennifer is saying there about the broader benefit for Sangamon County is real. So I think with that school on the south side of Springfield and into the Chatham district, the opportunity to have developers come build, whether it's retail spaces or homes within the Chatham school district, could be really valuable there. I think there's also the opportunity to explore different innovative partnerships through this particular agreement, whether that is with Ball-Chatham, other school districts, District 186, but really strengthen the partnership between UIS, our College of Education, and the local districts, school districts in Sangamon County. Really gives us an opportunity to grow our educational program, as I said before, and to contribute to the teacher pipeline. And because of the nature of the school and the 3 schools that were consolidated, my understanding is that the students that will come to this school are going to be a very diverse population and will really give our students the experience to work in a school that has a variety of students placed within that school, which will be a wonderful opportunity.
sure. So after an extensive search for suitable Southside properties, we've analyzed many properties in depth. The ideal location was identified, and this land that's adjacent to the main UIS campus is really just a perfect place. It directly serves the large Franklin Park, a single-family neighborhood. Current students attend Hazel Dell Elementary School, which is one of the schools that's to be consolidated. It borders Barker Park, as I mentioned before, creates a natural walking and biking access for families to the school from Franklin Park neighborhood. It enables unique educational opportunities and partnerships with UIS for regional growth. No current structures exist on the land and has ample drainage and infrastructure to connect to already. Strong existing relationships between all area school districts and UIS make this collaborative solution a mutually beneficial opportunity for many. But some key facts and clarifications that were brainstormed prior to me coming tonight is this is not going to be a lab school like you see on ISU's campus or U of I's campus, where it's only for people that attend UIS or work at UIS. This is a regular boundary attendance elementary school, 100% operated by District 186. We won't accept any out-of-district transfers, meaning no fee-based transfers to that school would be permitted. We think that's an important thing for you so that nobody can say, I wish to send my kid there, here's the tuition to do so. It would be pretty expensive to do that anyway. UIS faculty and staff living in the Chatham boundary, housing on or near campus will continue to send their students to Ball-Chatham schools. We already operate in this manner with our expansive shared border. This is not a land sale. UIS is retaining the ownership of the land, and District 186 receives a long-term lease only for this specific project on those specific acres. District 186 remains under the 1974 desegregation order, so attendance zones reflect a diverse city draw. We'll probably have almost as many buses coming there as what you guys talked about tonight. University has no operational control over our facility. The daily management, curriculum, staffing will remain exclusively with District 186. Limited dedicated UIS partnership classroom for experiential learning, practicum, and student teaching placements will continue to be equitably distributed in Sangamon County. We don't want to hog all of it. That's not our purpose at all in this. So the request is simple. It's Springfield District 186 respectfully request Ball-Chatham Board to approve for the voluntary detachment to enable this innovative, cost-effective, and regionally beneficial project. If the approval would be granted, the next step would be to send an uncontested position letter for the annexation detachment to the regional office. 51, Shannon Furholtz is our superintendent. So that would be the next steps. We appreciate your consideration of this, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have one question, because one of the first questions that's just jumped off this page with me is that you're activating the 1974 desegregation order.
Our whole district.
And the aesthetics is terrible there, in my opinion, because it looks like here's this land in our district that you're desegregating.
Oh, no, not at all.
Second question would be, how long have this plan been in order, okay, in works? And there was also a question that there was a press release in 23 said that there was collaboration between 186, UIS, and the Ball-Chatham School District. Can you share what was included as far as our district in this planning, or how was we included, or is just an ask? I'm not clear what's happening here.
Okay, thank you for your questions. First of all, with the desegregation order, I just wanted to be sure that you understood this is a natural boundary school. Every single one of our schools is under desegregation order. It has been for well before my time. I was in school when it went into place. So this is just a fact of the matter. It is not a lab school. It's not a school we're designing for any special purpose other than to be a natural boundary school that would cover the schools that we're consolidating. Second, your question about how long has this been discussed. We went into deep discussions about another piece of land. There's all kinds of media about that for you to look up. So we went in and really looked at another piece of land that's adjacent to our district offices for a long time. And it actually sat on the Fiat Alice, where the Fiat Alice factory was, and the ground was unsuitable for us to be able to build an elementary school. So we went through that. We did look at this land early on as an option. I believe since the day Dr. Lehman became superintendent, I have mentioned and talked about that we have looked at this land, but it isn't until now in our facilities plan that we are able to look and start the construction of the school. We've had several other projects underway, as you could see, across our community that were first in priority. Much as you listed your facility plans tonight, we had them very well prioritized, and this consolidation was more towards the end. So it's time for us to bring this at this moment and juncture. As for the press release, I think I'll let you address that.
So if I can add a little bit, some of the length of this process can be attributed to UIS, because I had to go to the University of Illinois System Board and get approval to even talk about this as a possibility, because they own the land, the system owns the land, and so I had to go to the board, get approval for the discussion and the exploration of this with no real promise, and that did take a little bit on the part of the University of Illinois system. So we've been talking about this a long time, but really not to the point. It was only within probably the last year that I knew that the University of Illinois system would even entertain this as a possibility. So it's been going on a while from that perspective.
One of my concerns would be, as a new board, we took an oath to protect assets and make places better than we found them to leave it out here. And there is a legal process for this, as far as redistricting. Because what would it look like to say, hey, just give this away, or to sign off on this, where there's an avenue to just remap it or redistrict? Why don't you just redraw the district?
You can't. This is the process. To ask for anything. So we have checked with our attorneys, I think on all 3 levels, and also talked with our regional superintendent, and asking for a detachment through this process is the first step.
Mm-hmm. My understanding there's some land there nearby, about northwest of those railroads there, about 39 acres. Why not that land there in some of the maps that were presented versus land here? Is there a difference in this location? Just curious, versus is it the purchase price, or is it this land is kind of gifted in a sense? Just curious on how that works.
Well, there's no purchase price because we're not selling it.
Sure.
So we're going to be engaging in a long-term lease. Why this particular piece?
I'm not sure what you mean. What land you're thinking.
Like coming in over the back. One of my concerns is, the encroachment. We see this and, how the city, I'm using the incorrect terminology, when the city, takes over smaller areas, however, whatever it's called, that this will set a precedent within Sangamon County that 186 will grow into other districts and have land that is there that will take from different areas, boundaries that have been set for many years. So my question is, why was it land chosen within the boundaries of the 186 currently versus coming into Chatham's boundary district, I guess my question.
It was just it's a great piece of land that's adjacent to our property with Franklin Park neighborhood right there. So, you've got somebody that looks out in their backyard, they throw a football, they're in Chatham and we're here. So it was just a piece of land that is nearby the UIS property. There isn't any land that's as close to this. We did look at another piece of land prior though, and embedded it all the way out, and it wasn't suitable to build on. And there is no existing building there to tear down and all of those types of things as well. So we're coming with open arms to ask, to see if it's a possibility. We don't have a lot of, we're pretty bonded out into the future. This project is covered in our current bonds. I don't think we'll be building on any other properties anywhere in the next 100, 200 years. I can't predict what will happen in the future, but it is something that we already have Hazel Dell, which is within arguably walking distance of the campus, that will be a part of this consolidation and be offline, and students currently go there quite often that don't have transportation. So we were thinking of a solution that would be in that area, and this is the plot of land that was chosen.
You mentioned, Counselor, about your students, probably student teaching and all the, I don't know the whole process, but where do most of the students from UIS do their student teaching at in this area?
All over. There's probably not a school that they're not in. So, they're all in Sangamon County.
Do you anticipate more student teaching going to this location versus other neighboring districts within the area? That's a concern that I have, as we all want to grow our pipelines with teachers. You want to get the best and brightest in there from the start. You get them in the door, teachers love it, they fall in love, and they stay there for a long time. My concern, part of that too, is having a district right there, especially a Chatham boundary, is that could potentially hurt all the districts within the community from a feeder program per se. So do you anticipate, once a school goes up, that is going to, funnel more teachers into the 186 when there's shortages? We all have shortages, right? Or do you anticipate that to not be an issue? Teachers come to Chatham or Rochester or Petersburg or wherever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just being right there on site when they can walk across the street, teach, that's probably going to be a big drawing point, I would assume, down the road.
I would say though that currently we have teachers in the 3 elementary schools that are going to be consolidated into this school, and a school can only handle so many student teachers or observers, or there's a capacity issue. And so my guess would be that the number of students that would be in this new school would be proportional to the number of students that are currently in the 3 separate schools, and then it probably would not be anymore.
So you wouldn't be opening up more student teaching positions in general compared to what you currently have there?
I would say too that there's sometimes teacher burnout on accepting student teachers.
Sure.
It's a lot on you. And so, the process is people have to say, hey, this is my year, I'd like a student teacher, I wanna take one this year. Other years they're like, this isn't the right year for me to do that. But I would think that there would be room for us to write agreements about you know, if there were student teachers, how many would go to each of the districts that might be represented, but specifically between Springfield and Chatham.
Has this ever happened before? Has 186 possibly built near Milliken and, or Rochester, or any other bordering districts has
We
this?
have never, this is a
So
first
this
time
is
for this
completely
ask.
unprecedented.
Unprecedented and well thought out before I brought it to your attention.
Okay.
What kind of legal process must take place for an annex of land from another district?
It would go to the regional office of schools. For our area is called 51, and so it would be through Shannon Furholtz's office. They have a regional commission that they pull together when something like this happens to look over all the legalities, and then our attorney, your attorney, anybody would be able to have a say and look over everything.
So given the resources that you have and the resources that we have, and it is lying in our district, there's no room for collaboration, partnership, working together. Can we build, or it's just give us the land and go away?
It's not go away, it's create anything that you might need in a document to feel comfortable with it. However, I don't think we can share the school necessarily.
So,
legally, yeah.
Which makes it maybe easier to try to redistrict it or rezone through the proper channels or legal channels to redistrict the land versus, you know, because if this is unprecedented, then I don't know if I can vote consciously to give something away that's within the district, or to say, just take it, or this is the way I was voted into this area, but we took off part of this district and the next guys that run, we're gonna give you part of the district back that we gained in election. So I don't think I can sell that to my constituents without a fully understanding or legal precedence.
Sure, and I would suggest you talk to your attorneys about it more, but this is the legal process. This is the first step for the legal process. So there isn't a way to like vote this redistricting in or anything like that. It is truly us requesting it of the regional planning through the Regional Office of Education.
So it seems more like you're asking us, why don't you give it away? And I'm asking you, why don't you just come and take it? Because I can sell the fact to my constituents better that you took it, than I'll say, I gave it away.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but I do have an opinion, and it is my opinion.
Sure.
You know, I'm new to Springfield and new to the educational system here, and I personally would like the narrative to be that UIS is collaborative with our local school districts, whether that's Ball-Chatham and District 186. I would rather not have the narrative be that UIS in partnership with District 186 stole something from Ball-Chatham. I look at this as valuable to all of us, to your district, to District 186, and to 186, and into UIS, and that's why we're here to talk about this today. You know, I don't think the media play that we're fighting against each other serves anyone well in this particular situation.
Also, I've asked them 100 times if they would actually sell the land, and the answer is absolutely no.
The
so.
board will not, the Board of Trustees of the University of Illinois will not let me sell the land. They won't. We have 738 acres.
I agree.
They won't let us sell the land.
No, I agree. I understand 100%. I understand fully.
Where there'll be homes, I don't know the question here, but like, where the land you're choosing to build a school out there, will that annexation allow for future homes potentially in that
No,
area? Or will it just
not
be
at all.
strictly on the side of the street, that's
It
the
would
line for the
just be
school?
the number of acres for the school and the property surrounding the school.
So students, like you think of a neighborhood you go to school where they live at, there won't be really any students besides on the north side.
Franklin Park,
Is
which
that
is
what it is?
already in
Okay,
District
yeah.
186.
So
There's
nothing on the backside
yeah,
of
there's
the district
nowhere,
land.
no, and District 186 doesn't own any additional land around there to have homes go up, so.
And how long of a lease, you said that would be?
We haven't worked out the specifics, but
Long-term, I would say.
long-term, we've talked about 100 years, but that would all have to be worked out. This is just truly the first step.
Okay.
And from here, you know, we would have to work out all the intricacies of a relationship of this sort.
So wouldn't it have been easier to work in a collaborative effort with combined resources if this was just simply about creating another educational institution for the children? I mean,
Well, in the way that it works, we've looked into it quite in-depth, and the way it works is if it's annexed into our district, then we can use our funds to build the school, and then there could be mutual benefits from all sides after that. If, for instance, if we wanted a certain entrance to be for the university students, we could have that, the logo of Chatham above it, just like it's above ours. You know, we could talk about ways to have something on writing that would make you all feel like you got something out of it in terms of the teachers that we may be able to create and produce. We know that UIS is a regional partner for producing teachers, and we know it could grow. Right? We've talked about that quite a bit amongst all the superintendents. We
right,
hope it
and I
will.
feel that I don't know if our superintendent was even added in that discussion, because we feel the same
Absolutely.
way. We're competitive. I think we're the best in the area. So when people come for us, we want to talk to say, hey, look, you know, first I'm looking at something. I know the Desegregation Act of '74 is there, but I kind of, you know, when you look and see that in the packet, it's kind of like.
We just wanted you to know it's not a lab school.
Right, it's not a
Yeah.
lab school, but it's a school that is unprecedented, that you will have complete control, right? That's something that we would have to tell our constituents. We gave this portion of our district to 186, okay? Now, what if 186 want the Apple Barn zone? Or what if you want, you know, to go over to Rochester or anywhere else? Say, hey, I like that land in that district. So let's just write up a proposal and just, I'm not gonna say for just for conversation purposes, acquire it versus take it. Forget about who's there, forget about what is you, forget about our future plans. Did we say we might build there, we might put a field office there, we might build out to that, we might just hold on to the area to annex, and we may want a relationship with UIS also for the same thing you're doing, which is to bring a quality education to our children. So I think to say, I guess, you know, maybe, you know, we can kind of talk about this a little bit more, and I'll get a better understanding, because on its face, it just doesn't seem like good stewardship over the district from my perspective.
And I'm trying to do something good for the community, and I wanted to bring it forward to you, and Dr. Lehman invited us tonight. So we appreciate your time, and we appreciate your questions. If you'd like to give us any questions, we'd be happy to, you know, write them out, seek attorney advice for you at any point in time. We'd be happy to do that.
I have one question, just general, like, when do you think, like, for your plans to now, is like how long it takes a school to get up, of this magnitude, to get up and going?
Actually, you know, our funds are there. We bonded out for the new elementary school, and upon your approval, if that were to happen, we would be able to build pretty quickly, because the money is there and bonded out, and we're ready to go. And we waited until this time, yeah.
So, I do have one, but when did this whole project start for you? When did the developer, the idea of this new school start, and where you had when did this plan start to be developed? How long ago was that?
Challenged in my own mind. It seems like yesterday in some, but yes.
It's okay if I offer a couple.
Yeah.
Just some historical perspective.
A while, Joe.
Sorry. Micah Miller, school board member. I
You
think.
can just stand and talk right over.
Yeah. I don't know why these are never.
You can do that with anybody in the room.
These are never built on it. That's fine. No, Mr. Kolovic, you had mentioned something earlier, and just to try to explain how we got here. You know, I very much believe in the neighborhood school model, and it would have been my preference we rebuild at Lake Town or Hazeldale. And that actually came up in conversation back in 2018 when I think we were all talking about the sales tax. For logistical reasons, Hazeldale was just deemed it wasn't gonna work. Lake Town, they never really got a full study, and I pushed hard for about a full year to try to get the architects to draw.
We did.
Yeah, and we finally got a full architectural rendering, but you're talking about a parcel of 3.5 acres on one site and about 5 on the other. And then when you start looking down the road at other sites, there really are not any options until you start getting out of the boundaries of those schools, and that's when Chancellor Gooch came to us, and that wasn't even on our radar. And that kind of goes to Mr. Coburn's point. You know, this This was not a District 186 saying we want that, we're coming to take that. That was,
I did offer. I read the article in the newspaper about the land that they had originally acquired and had trouble building on because of, I don't know, hazardous waste or chemicals or something. And so I reached out to Jennifer and I said, I don't know if this is possible, but would you be interested in exploring building your school on our property? And then that is when I approached the system board about this, and we had some initial conversations, and it wasn't until we all started exploring this that we realized that the land that we were talking about was actually in the Ball-Chatham School District.
So what year was that?
Well, I came in 22, so I would say.
We had that pandemic in the middle.
Yeah.
So it got,
No,
yeah,
okay.
and we
Yeah.
had some consolidation talks that went on from 18 to 19 about which schools we would consolidate, and that's a hard conversation as well. And so once we got to the realization that we were going to consolidate, those 3 schools need a lot of work. Hazel Dell's got 123 students. So they're all 3 very small schools, well under 200. So to combine them into one, it'll be similar to like a Chatham Elementary in size, probably a little bit smaller. So that's why we decided to move forward with the consolidation. Over the last 3 years, though, we've been
So
having
22,
conversations.
23 timeframe,
Yeah.
roughly?
Mhm.
Okay.
but then in that time frame to find out that this property won't be sold, that was kind
Right.
of, okay, now it felt like this all fell apart. And it wasn't until the lease thing made it all possible again. So there would have been plenty of opportunities probably to talk to Chatham without knowing what was possible, and that would have been the rub, until you start to find out what's actually possible, and those are more recent conversations. I just wanted to offer some of that
And I
background.
appreciate that. I guess my point is that, we're talking 3 years that there was conversations that were had. I know there are some off-the-record conversations that occurred, or some friendly conversations, I guess you say. I don't want to say off the record, but friendly
Meetings,
conversations.
meetings, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was other meetings that we weren't a part of. But the part that hangs up for me, that doesn't sit well with me, to be very honest with you, is we're in, 3 years? You guys have been talking about this. This is the first time that you're actually coming to us.
This is the first time we were invited to come, so thank you.
I mean, you see where I'm going with that.
Right.
I
We've
mean,
had-
and that's-
I mean-
and that
We've
makes
had
it-
multiple conversations with the superintendent. So, and this is, I know you had a big board shift, and we requested to come to speak before, but then you had some turnover and you have a new board, and it was decided that this would be the best opportunity for us now that you have your newly established board.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming tonight and talking to us about that, because I do have some hangups with the annexations.
I would too. I'm not
In
wanting
my real world job, that's something I deal with on a regular basis, and, that causes some issues. So, that's where I appreciate the information. It's definitely something we'll digest and.
Well, and I think your sentiment, Dr. Lehman has supported your board and the sentiment to me quite often, and so we needed to bring it forward to see what might be possible, to dream big and to think ahead, and we appreciate your time tonight. We're happy to answer any other questions. Yeah, I don't wanna get ugly about it. This is not what I wanna do. Like I said, in many respects, the Ball-Chatham community is a part of my family, so I'm coming out here out of great respect.
Mr. Ray, thank you for your context on kind of how you got there. That makes sense, 3,000, 5,000.
And we vetted the
size,
other property,
yeah.
and it took almost a year to vet that other property that's by our new offices and.
Multiple conversations and multiple.
That makes sense.
If you
Yeah.
consolidate, what's the plan for the old properties?
Some of them are, actually, we don't own the property it's lake property at the Hazel Dell site, so we'll have to do a little bit of conversation with the city on how to deal with that school site. It's not super suitable to build a taller school or a bigger school on that. There's that one little lake road that goes around it. Lake Town, there's some conversation about what they would like with their neighborhood association, and the same with Southern View. I do believe Southern View might be interested in having part of it for their police station and some other things like that, similar to what we heard you tonight with an intergovernmental agreement with buildings that you own for other use in the community.
If everybody good, I just kind of have one question to kind of summarize or wrap it up, but Will you be actually making a formal written request of us for the annexation? Like, what is your next step?
We have a letter that just basically says that we would request this of the Regional Office of Education, but we would like to have it be that you're, and I understand it's gonna be hard with your constituents, okay with us moving forward. We could go and say that, you're not okay and we wanna get attorneys and then there's a review board. We can go that way, and then a third-party review board would check out everything and make a decision based on, some gain on either side.
Who would be part of that review board?
The Regional Office of Education seats that review board.
Well, thank you for coming and presenting. Appreciate it. I just want to wrap up with my comments. I was very quiet, let the board members talk as well, but I'm going to be very open and honest, and I don't appreciate the way this was brought forth. I don't believe it was collaborative. I understand that it's a difficult situation for you. It doesn't seem like it serves our district at all, in my opinion, and again, these are our opinions. But I don't see the collaboration, I don't see the connection to us, and I do think it's unprecedented, and I've grown up here my entire life, and I've never seen this, with the neighboring school district asking this or proposing this. So for someone who is an outsider, this won't resonate very well with our community, and I don't think any of the other communities around. So I'm just gonna leave it with that, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 9.06, future meeting dates. We have the list of our facilities and grounds, policy, finance, and our regular board meeting minutes. So this is for informational purposes only. Does anybody have any questions or concerns at all on this? 9.07 is a citizen's opportunity for visitors to address the school board concerning any topics tonight. We didn't have anybody sign up, so moving on to adjournment, section 10, 10.01, adjournment from the regular meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor?